just dealing with me as I grow literally in front of your faces. Today's broadcast, I know it's for somebody, and it's for somebody special because we went through a little bit just to bring you today's broadcast. Okay. All right. So, I want to get right into it because we are already, well into the day. Okay. So, today, Tahis Love here. Hi. Happy Sunday. Happy first Sunday of March. March, we know very well, is Women's Month. And so we are very, very excited about being in March 2021. Okay. Just to reiterate, I'm so glad that we have at least 1 month where we can celebrate women. Shout out to all the women out there. All right, all of my homegirls, my sisters, my aunties, my daughters, my moms, my grandmoms out there. And so, in honor of Women's Month, we will be talking, particularly on Sundays, we're going to be lifting up women, real women with real women's issues. Okay. So tune in every Sunday of this month because we're going to continue with this. But today we're launching it. We're starting it off. I am doing broadcasting live simultaneously. I'm using StreamYard. This is the second time I used it. I used it yesterday, but things didn't come out quite right. I don't know. Either I had my camera off or it wasn't picking up. But anyway, thank you all. Y'all continue to pray for me because I'm, learning these different media platforms and utilizing it like right away. Okay, because I want to just be able to get the word out and get these videos out with the information so that everyone can have access to it. Okay, and so and in the midst of doing all of that, I'm growing. I'm growing, and thank you to all of you all who were there with me, even from the very, very beginning. You all have watched me sprout to where I am right now. Thank you for your continued support. And so just want to get right into it now, okay? All right. So, today we're going to be talking about a particular type of issues, those of you who are single, and even those of you who are not, but remember when you were single, okay? When you were in search of that special someone, think about your list. I know some of us had lists, and we wanted to make sure that, we checked our list and checked it twice, to see if, the person that we were interested in, did they line up, and things of that nature. But as you were checking your list or your requirements, that you needed, those qualities in a person that you needed, so that you would consider them to be with you. What were some of your requirements? Okay, I know for me, um, the first go round, um, first time I got married, it was very important to me that, um, you know, I needed the brother to, have, I was concerned about his health background. He had to be healthy, and then I wanted to know, like, what kind of ailments was in his family line, and that was very important to me. Now, I didn't not date um, someone who may have had something in their, hereditary background, that, an ailment. I did not date, but what I did was, like, for example, I'm just being transparent, okay? When I was, searching for that someone, I knew that, you know, whoever I married, I was going to have children with them, and I took into consideration certain things because I did not want my children to have to deal with those things. So, for example, if I, noticed that the brother had a serious temper, okay, and very you know very impulsive, or short tempered. I you know Once I found that out, I'm like, we won't be dating you. You will not be the father of my children. Um, Not because I had anything against people with short tempers. It's just that I know my temper, okay, um, and I didn't think it would be a good combination if the person got my temper up and then they had a temper, okay. So and then I didn't want to have children who I would have to deal with, them possibly having their father's temper, and then, with my temper, that kind of thing. So, if I've noticed that you had anger management issues, yeah, that was the end of, our relationship. Um, and like my temper, yeah, I have a temper, yes, I do. But it takes a lot for me to go there, you know. Um, it takes me a while to get my temper up, and I don't allow things to, you know, get me there. If I feel my temper, you getting on my nerves, I will give you warning and all that kind of thing before I let Sheba out the bag. But I keep her, keep her on lock and everything, but I will, let you know. And so knowing that about me, knowing that, once I get angry, I can get really angry. It's just that my temper doesn't last long. You know, when I get angry, I tell you off or do whatever I have to do, beat you down. I do it really quickly so that I don't have to stay in anger mode for very, very long. But my temper, when it's out there, it's fast, it's furious, and then it's gone. And knowing that about me, I didn't think it would be a good uh, idea to um, marry and have children with someone that may have had, that might be quick tempered, or their temper lasts a long time and stuff like that. I didn't think that would be a good combination with me. So that was one of the things on my list that, I would check, that kind of thing. What are some of the things that was on your list as you were seeking or interviewing that special someone, um, or what's on your list right now. All my single ladies. But um, today, I put the question out there today. Would you consider um, marrying, dating a much older man or much older mate, even if they had children? Okay? Would you consider that? Would that be a deal breaker or not? Okay? Um, so that was the question that I put out there today. And so put your questions and your comments right on there in the chat. We'll read it and respond. But when before I went with my first marriage, no, I would, to be honest with you, no, that was not on my list. You know, the first time I got married, I was really, really young. I was 19 years old. And, I knew that down the road I was going to have children. And so I was not interested in a much older man. And I really was not interested in a man that already had children. I figured, back then, we will have children together, and that's it. I wasn't interested or trying to entertain, you know, dealing with someone that already had children. I wasn't, particularly the first marriage, that I wasn't trying to be, um, mother to someone else's children, especially before I had my own. That was me, just being honest. That's what was me. So now I wouldn't, but that was me, the first go round. Now the second go round, I was a lot older. I already had, my 5 sons and all of that. So that, the things that was on my list changed. So I didn't, it didn't matter to me because I already was the mother of 5 sons. And, it didn't matter if my new spouse had children already or not. Didn't matter. Because, I was in a different place, in a different space in my life by that time. But what do you think? What do you think? Okay. Well, there are, a lot of women out there that would, they're like me. They wouldn't even entertain it. No way. Especially if they want to have children and they expect to have children. They would figure that, oh, well, a much older man might cut down my chances for having children. And then there are some women who would say, well, I want to have children, and as long as, he has all the tools and everything, why not? So, but what do you think? What do you think? I'm interested in knowing what you think. But there was a lady, we'll call her Lady K. Lady K, she was living in a household with a much older man, and he had children, and she was part of his household. He was rich, okay, and he was a very prominent man in the community, and he had a wife. He was married. Um, some people said that he had two wives before her. Um, but in any event, because he definitely had one wife, and everybody knew her. Okay, but he had another wife that was, you know, he had a baby by her, and the situation was kind of sticky, and uncomfortable, and so but the wife, she knew about, him having this baby outside of marriage, and he took care of this baby outside the marriage, that was from outside of the marriage, but the baby mama would, and his wife did not get along so much, to the point where the baby mama and the child, who was a teenager at the time, were sent away from the house, from the community. They were sent away. The you know the wife was like, I can't take it, especially after, you know especially after she had her son. Okay. But after the other baby mama and the son were sent away, um, there were the wife had, she had handmaidens. Her husband was prominent, he was rich, so she had handmaidens and everything, that would help her. She was much older as well. Her and her husband were, pretty old, and when she conceived their son. Okay. And so they raised their son together, sent the other son and the baby mama away, and they raised their son together, and the son, got to be, grown man, and everything. And then that wife died. Now, once the wife died, you got the prominent man, the husband. He's there. He has one son that's with him, that lives with him. He has another son that was sent away, so he didn't have any more contact with that other son or dealings with the baby mama. So he's there, and he was with his wife, his first wife, for many, many, many years. He loved her, and so he's missing her. He's missing her terribly. Okay, but he got his son, and his son is there with him, but he's missing her. Now, he's an older man. He had a lot of people as part of his household. He had a great big house, and they lived in the community and everything. He's well respected and all of that. So, his wife, when she died, she left all of these handmaidens that it was their job to tend to her and help her and stuff like that. And so he has all these handmaidens, and this was back in a time where they were called handmaidens. Okay. But the husband was still lonely. He had all these people living in the house, and they would work with him and serve him, and his son now is a grown man, and has his own wife now, and starting his family, and so But the dad, he was lonely. Okay. Um, who am I talking about? I'm talking about, if you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about Abraham. Abraham and his family. Okay? Abraham had his wife, Sister Sarah, and they were together a really long time. He loved her. And then the Lord told Abraham that he was to have a son. He was going to have an heir. And he didn't think it was with his wife, because he and his wife both had, you know, aged, gotten a lot older. A lot of time has passed, and his wife was barren all this time. So when the Lord told him that, he was like, really, God? How are we going to do that? And God had promised him. And so he shared that information with his wife and everything. And she's like, all right, since we are going to have a son, let me, check with some of my handmaidens and see which one I can pick for you, so that you can, conceive a son, and then we will raise it as ours. Okay? And so she did. She selected a handmaiden. Her name was Hagar. And, Abraham got with Hagar. There was no no real relationship there. Hagar was one of the handmaidens of Sarah. She was part of the household, and she was selected to have a baby for Abraham and Sarah. She did. She had a son. Abraham loved his son. Sarah, she loved him too. She loved the son. But because Hagar was a handmaiden, she was, one of the workers around the house. She worked for and under Sarah. She felt that, well, I had this baby, I'm, surrogate mom deal and all of that. I think my status should elevate now. Y'all are rich, okay? So I think I deserve some props. And so Hagar and Sarah would often butt heads and, not agree. And there was discord in the household. So much to the point that Sarah instructs Abraham to send Hagar and her son away, because that was the only way we was going to have peace, and that was the only way that Sarah was going to be able to move forward. And, Abraham did that. He wasn't happy about it. It was a hard decision, but Hagar and her son had to go. They had to go. And so they went. And then a little bit after that, Sarah, in her old age, winds up giving birth, getting pregnant, and giving birth to their son. And then, Abraham, he was overjoyed, and Sarah was overjoyed. She's now finally a mom, and they get to raise their son, and all this kind of thing. And the son, grows up, and then Sarah dies. Okay, she lived a full life and everything. Now she's gone home to glory. So Abraham is saddened. He's lonely. He misses his wife terribly, and he's in this position where he still has all these, handmaidens, and there were women around, but he had access to them, because back in that time, the men had, if they were wealthy enough, they had more than one wife. They even had what the Bible calls concubines, women who were, um, they would, avail themselves to the man, even though they're not married. They would avail themselves sexually to the man, even though they were not married. The man, the husband, he still had a financial obligation. He had to provide for her and everything, but she was not his wife. His wife, the children, he would have children with his wife. The concubines were around. Some, and back in biblical times, some of the men did, have relations with the concubine as well and have children with them, but the children were not considered heirs on the same level as the children that the man had with the wife. And so they were not treated on the same way. But in most cases, the man, he had his children that were in line as heirs with his wife. Okay, so Abraham's son with his wife, that was his heir. Not even the son that he had with Hagar was considered his heir. Okay, that's why, when Abraham sent both of them away, he sent them away. I'm sure he sent them with enough provision so that they wouldn't, just like totally, fall out and die. But he sent them with something, but it wasn't, something that would sustain them for very long and very far. But anyway, so Abraham is here with his son. His son has gotten married and, starting his family and everything. And Abraham is saddened and he's older and he's lonely. And so Abraham decides that, he's going to take on another wife. Okay? And so he looked amongst the women that were part of his household, which were, the Bible calls them concubines, because there was no wife there. So they weren't tending to his wife any longer because Sarah had died. But they remained, even after she died, they remained part of the household and everything. And so he looked amongst the concubines, the other women that were part of his household, and he saw Lady K. He went to Lady K's family and asked them for Lady K's hand in marriage. And so he went to, and so Lady K's father, spoke to Lady K. Now, Lady K, and I call her Lady K, but her name is Keturah. Keturah, okay? Keturah, she was part of the household now. She was part of Abraham's household, but she was considered a concubine. She was on, that status. But Abraham, had to still go to her family and let them know that he wanted her to be his wife. And so, when Abraham went to Keturah's father, he thought, yeah, why not? Let's go. And back then, marriages were arranged. Okay. two people came together, not necessarily out of love, but out of family arrangements. Okay, and so when Keturah's father came to her and said, "Look, I got good news for you. I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is somebody wants to make you their wife." So Keturah is all excited, like, "Oh, finally, you know." But she's like, "Well, who is it?" And he said, "Well, that's the bad news. He's a much older guy, okay, but he promises to take care of you and make sure that you don't want for anything, okay? He's just a much older guy, and you know him. So she's like, "Well, who is it? Who is it?" I mean, once she heard that, okay, it's a much older guy, and she even knows of the guy. She's thinking in her mind, okay, if I know him, I probably, he's not the man of my dreams, okay? Because if I already met him, and he's an older man, well, I'd like to have children and everything. I've always wanted to have my own family and everything, but let's see who Dad is saying he's talking about. And so when Keturah hears that it's Abraham, she's like, "Okay, I do know him. He is rich. I already live amongst his household, so okay." So she really couldn't say no anyway, because it's an arranged marriage. So she comes, and her and Abraham get married, and she becomes the woman of the household. She's the wife, okay? And so all of the other women there, it becomes their responsibility to assist her and take care of her and whatever she needed and all that kind of thing. Now, even though she was now Abraham's new wife, and even though she was considerably younger than Abraham, she wasn't a young lady. She had lived some. Okay, I'm sorry. She wasn't a concubine with Abraham. Okay, she didn't have relations with Abraham, sexual relations with him. She lived in the household. She was, a servant. She served, and stuff like that. But now she's his wife. And by this time, Abraham has gotten considerably older. And where, he needs assistance sometimes in lifting things. And, his strength is not what it was, all the way back when he was married to Sarah. His strength started, to dwindle, but he was still strong enough to do what he had to do and stuff. But his son, would help him. And so at this time, Keturah, she took care of Abraham. If he had aches and pains, she was the one that gave him the massage and all of that kind of thing. She was devoted to him. Because she's his wife. She was devoted to him. Now, it wasn't necessarily love. It was more of an obligation thing that she had for him. And he had for her. Everybody in the community knew that Abraham's heart was with Sarah. And when Sarah died, that was it. They were happy to see that he got remarried. But even though he was, he got remarried and, he has a new wife and all of that, Keturah could not replace Sarah, not in Abraham's heart. Okay, so it was very important, though, that to Abraham that he get married again, because he did not want to be alone. He didn't want to be alone. And at this point, upon Sarah's death, Abraham had only 2 sons. Okay. Going back a little bit, God had promised Abraham that he not only that he would have an heir, but that he would be the father of many nations, and that his seed would be as plentiful as the sand. Okay, so God had promised Abraham that, and Abraham received that promise. And after all these years, Sarah now deceased, Abraham has 2 sons. One that he sent away, and the one that lives in the community with him, that is now grown and starting his own family. So when Abraham decided, I need to take on another wife, Abraham still had that promise that God had made him in his mind. So hence he marries Keturah. Now Keturah, she was a devoted wife, and Abraham, he cared for her, but he didn't love her. Okay. For Abraham simply wanted someone around for companionship. He wanted someone close to him that would help take care of him, even in his older age. And he wanted someone to have some more children for him. Okay? So this is why he selected Keturah. Keturah, becoming his wife, she understood all of this. She knew that even though she was his wife, she was not replacing Sarah. She knew that even though she had wife status, you could still feel, Sarah's spirit around. Okay? The handmaidens that served Sarah are now serving Keturah. The house that they lived in, Sarah helped decorate and design that house, So there were plenty of memories of Sarah, okay, all around. So when Keturah became the wife, she had to deal with all of that. She had to deal with, okay, Abraham is my husband, and I want to make him happy, but I don't know if I can, because I know his heart and his mind and everything is still with Sarah, and Sarah's no longer with us. Plus, I got to deal with, not only did Keturah become Abraham's wife, but she was stepmom to Abraham's son. Okay, so and even though Sarah was no longer with us, she was no longer alive, I'm sure that Ishmael was respectful to his stepmom, but he didn't regard her in the same light as he would his mom. You know how that is. Those of you who are married, or you're in a relationship where, there are children that you have to tend to, but they're not your biological children, or those of you who are in blended families, you know exactly what Keturah was facing. Okay? Um, but Keturah, she dealt with all of it. She dealt with all of it. And she continued to serve. She stayed in the marriage, even though, even some of Sarah's handmaidens, they were Keturah's handmaidens, but they didn't serve Keturah in the same way that they served Sarah. Okay, they might have had their feelings about it. Well, how come Abraham picked her? I've been here right here in front of him all this time. I could have did it better than her. Why didn't he choose me? That might have been the sentiment amongst some of the other women that were part of the household of Abraham. And so they may not have been as respectful as they could have been to Keturah. But Keturah dealt with it. She dealt with it. She dealt with it. And then Keturah started having sons. Keturah being the second, or if you considered Hagar one of Abraham's wives, then that would make Keturah the third wife. But Keturah, she winds up having more children than the previous women in Abraham's life. Keturah gave birth to and gave Abraham 6 sons. Abraham had 6 more sons in his old age. Okay? So Abraham and Keturah were busy. All right? And with all of that, bearing 6 sons for Abraham, she still devoted herself to Abraham, tended to his 6 sons, and continued to live even in the shadow of Sarah's memory. The memory of Sarah. Keturah knew that, one of the main reasons why Abraham chose her was so that she could have more children for him. He would have more heirs. Okay? But and she did it. But what did Keturah get in return? What? She did a lot. She served and took care of Abraham. She made sure that, he looked good when he had to go out into the courts, amongst the people. She made sure that, he got his rest. She made sure that if he wasn't feeling well, she took care of him. She made sure that his meals were cooked, and that he was as healthy and as strong as he could be, even in his old age. Okay? And on top of all that, she gave him 6. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but 6 sons. Okay? And so Abraham, being that he was much older, he didn't have the energy and the strength to run around with his 6 younger sons like he did when he was raising his 2 older sons. Okay? And, so it was a lot. And so everywhere where Abraham kind of fell short in terms of parenting, Keturah had to step in. So there were times where, even though Abraham was the father, Keturah had to be mommy and daddy sometimes. Okay? And so that was a lot. And, some might say, she did a lot for that man. And what did he do for her? He cared for her. He provided for her and her children. But what did she get out of the deal? What did she get out of the deal? Some might look at the situation and think, you know what? Keturah got the short end of the stick, right? And then how did Keturah find the strength to keep going on? She was in a marriage that was arranged. It was basically a marriage of convenience for Abraham. Okay? And, she had to deal with a lot of other people's stuff and other people's attitudes about the way that they felt about her. And she had to deal with people, even in their household, constantly comparing her to Sarah. Okay? So she, lived her life, married to Abraham in Sarah's shadow. Like Sarah was always there, And so how did she do that? How was she able to deal with that? Well, even though Keturah, you don't hear too much about her. In fact, some of you all, this might be the first time y'all hearing about Lady K. But I call her Lady K because in the midst of all of that, she found strength to hold her head up and continue to move her entire family forward in the face of all of these issues that arise from being in a blended family situation. And so Keturah she's a great example of a real woman who had real issues, and she made it through. But how did she make it through? Well, Keturah, remember, she was part of Abraham's household. Keturah, she's married to Abraham, and Abraham is known as a man of faith. He's a man of God, okay? And Abraham worshiped and talked with his God often, okay? And so Keturah picked up and, learned those things. And she had her own special relationship with God. And it was that relationship with God that strengthened her relationship with her husband and her family and the members of her household even. She found strength and security and even solace in God. All of those things that she was not getting from her husband. Those things, she got everything material from her husband. But those immaterial things, those things that money can't buy, she got it from God. She turned to God for it. And God gave her the strength. God gave her the attitude, the proper attitude in which to continue on. Keturah didn't allow the craziness of what people were saying about her as she walked by, or she walked with Abraham. She didn't let that get to her. She didn't let that stop her. She didn't let that make her feel less than. She knew that she was Abraham's current wife, and anyone that didn't like it, oh well. Keturah looked at her situation as an opportunity to serve. And she did that. She served God as she served her husband, okay, and her family. And so it was her love for Abraham's God that she was able to, not take to heart some of the nasty things that people were saying, or even how people were treating her and mistreating her. Okay, it was her love for God that showed her how to love this man, or at least be devoted to this man in a way that was pleasing to God. And because of the way she served her husband, her family, God was pleased with her, and God blessed her. That's why she had 6 sons by herself. And it was through her that God's promise came into reality. Because she gave Abraham those 6 sons, Abraham's promise that he received from God, that he would be the father of many nations. It turned out that her 6 sons became the fathers of 6 tribes that ruled present day Palestine. Keturah's 6 sons, they all, became fathers and had many, many children, and they were fathers of tribes, okay? Large group of people. And they lived in eastern and southern Palestine, and in the places where they dominated. Those 6 sons and their families, those 6 tribes dominated, even to this day. Their families, have tremendous impact today in southern Palestine and eastern Palestine. Okay, so God, not only did he keep his promise to Abraham with the 6 sons, but he also blessed Keturah for her devotion and for her love for God, as she expressed her love for God in the way that she cared for her husband and family. So, I ask you again, those of you who are still looking, or not looking, but waiting to be found, let's put it that way, would you consider dating a much older man with children? What are your thoughts? Would you, could you see yourself living a life like Keturah? What do you think? And once I read the story, and as I was preparing for today's talk, I asked the Lord, well, okay, why was Keturah mentioned in the Bible? Why was she there? And the Lord was like, you know, the Lord, only the Lord would know that um, the issues that went on back then and there would be issues that we face today. And so now, if you're in a blended family situation, if you're married to, your spouse is much older with children, and there's family drama, you have someone that you can um, connect with in the Bible, because Keturah's story is your story. And Keturah, she is a great example of, what to do, how to navigate through that family situation, and because Keturah, followed God like that, and she too was a woman of faith, like her husband. The Lord blessed her, gave her 6 sons, blessed her, and even carved out a space for her in His Word. And the Lord used, the Lord is He has Keturah as one of His examples for us today. And we can read about her in His Word. You'll find Keturah's story in Genesis chapter 25, verses 1 through 6, and then First Chronicles. I left my notes. I think they're in the other room, but in First Chronicles, let me see now. I don't remember the chapter, but I remembered she's definitely in Genesis chapter 25, verses 1 through 6. And I know it's First Chronicles. You can find her mentioned also. I don't recall the chapter, but verses 31 and 32. I can't recall the chapter. And but she's in First Chronicles, and she's in the book of Genesis chapter 25, and so read up on her, and I call her Lady K, okay, because even though she's mentioned in the Bible, we as even believers, we kind of pick and choose, which people in the Bible that we want to talk about, or which stories in the Bible we connect with and teach or want to learn about. We kind of pick and choose, and we take pieces here and pieces there, but all of God's word is true. His entire love letter to us, which is the Bible, is true, and it's complete, because God speaks through every person that's in those pages. He speaks through them. Their testimonies are testimonies that we can live by. So I would encourage you to read up on Lady K. All right, Sister Keturah. Sister Keturah's name, Keturah, means increase. Isn't that something? And so, you want to get some increase in your life, read about Keturah, because there are, many things you can learn from her. Okay, so that's what I have. Now I'm interested in seeing what your comments are, and What do you think? What do you think about Sister Keturah? She was a real woman. Okay, real woman that had real issues. Okay, she wasn't perfect. Um, she wasn't. I don't even know how cute she was. Okay, um, she had the status of concubine. Um, now she didn't. She well, concubine, handmaiden, like she didn't have high status. Okay, um, she wasn't one of the prominent women in the community. You know, people did not look to her with any high regard, particularly before she got married to Abraham. Okay, she was just there and she served. You know, she worked. That's what she did. She worked. Okay, so now I just want to peek at some of your responses, and continue to put in your responses and everything, and comment in the chat, because I do go back and even after the live I go back and read what's in the chat and respond and all of that. And I just want to thank all of you all who respond and comment in the chat on the regular. Thank you all so much, because sometimes people don't feel comfortable with putting their thoughts down in the chat. But the purpose of these videos, at least for me, is so that they would be interactive. Okay, and interactive meaning that, okay, you hearing me speak, but I'm also interested in what you all have to say about whatever the topic is. These chats are meant to be discussion. Okay, and I don't know about you, but I always get an extra nugget of information or a point that may not have been brought out while I was doing the live. Very often they get brought out because you guys put it in the chat. Okay, so when you write in the chat and everything, understand that there are people who, long after this live is over, they get to read your comments and your responses as well, and they get even more of an insight on whatever the topic is that we're discussing. So thank you for all of those that comment in the chat regularly. Thank you to those that don't. Okay, because many of you all that don't respond in the chat, you respond in different ways. Okay, and so thank you for all of you. Okay, so I see Sister Taya Francois is on and watching, and she says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, says Sister Shireen. Faith is on and watching, and she says to everyone, good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, we're going to nosy on down. I see Sister Paulette Wrighton is on and watching, and she's saying good afternoon. All right, good afternoon, sis. Okay, and so I know that there are more of you that are watching and everything, but I guess you all are in listening mode today, so there's not that much chatter on the chat. Okay, and that's fine, but I pray that something that was said or brought out, gave you some food for thought. Okay, so when you are considering who a real woman is, And when I say real woman, I mean somebody that's down to earth, somebody that might have been through some things, but got victory because of Jesus. When you're considering your list of real women, consider Lady K, Sister Keturah. So, if there be no questions or any further comments, then I'll wrap up and, check back with the chat a little bit later and everything. But, yeah, so thank you so much for bearing with me as I try to, I am mastering StreamYard. And I really grinding hard to try to get that done because there's so many other things that I want to do. I was, the Lord has given me other content. I want to bring back we used to have testimonial Fridays. We used to have that back when I was working along with Miss Griffith. Shout out to Miss Griffith on the Aunt CC's Kitchen channel. Shout out to her. I miss my YouTube family, Aunt Cece's Kitchen family. I miss them very, very much. But we're gonna get back with it together. We're gonna reunite and everything. I have my own YouTube channel, Dunamis Sound Mind Services on YouTube. I'm really, really excited about that. And, feel free to, subscribe and like and share the videos even there. And I want to do some more things and provide different content on the YouTube channel. So besides these lives, and I'm loving this, but the Lord is saying, all right, come on, expand, grow, let's go. And so that's what I'm attempting to do. I miss Miss Griffith with the Aunt CC's Kitchen family. Miss Griffith, she had tremendous changes in her schedule and her job that does not permit her to do the Aunt CC's Kitchen channel videos like she used to, okay? Due to work constraints, she's not able to do that, but she told me, you go head on, and I'll catch up with you. Right now, I gotta work, and I gotta make this money. So, and I understand it, I understand it. But, yeah, that's where she is. But I'm feverishly preparing myself so that I can put fresh new content on and on my YouTube channel, and I want to get back to recording simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And so I'm working that out. I'm going to get it soon. And so thank you all so much for everything. And so I'm going to check one last time, and then I'm going to sign off. Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you all for sharing part of your Sunday afternoon with me. I'll be on again tomorrow, 11 o'clock ish. Once I get all of the technological hiccups out the way, then I'll be able to just come on and do what I do. But you all continue to pray for me. It's coming. It's coming. And I miss Miss Griffith so much because when I was on with the Aunt Cece's Kitchen channel, she did a lot of the technological stuff and the behind the scenes camera work and all of that kind of stuff. And so I didn't have to worry about that. I just showed up and talked, but I don't have her, to do all that for me. Plus, the Lord is like, no, you need your own platform, and you need to go ahead on and do what it is that I've called you to do. And so I'm doing that. And part of doing that is, I have to do all of that on my own and learn that for myself. And so that's what I'm doing. But with your prayers and continued support, we're going to get it together. And we'll be able to look back at these videos and everything and say, I remember her when. I remember her when. And so thank you all so much. So I'll see some of you all tomorrow around 11-ish. I'll see even more of you next week, Saturday at 6-ish. And then I'll see even more of you upon Sunday. Okay? But every Sunday this month, we're going to be talking about real women and real women's issues. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like and share these videos. Send it to somebody that you know that could really could really use the information, or send it to someone that might have a Keturah situation going on right now, and encourage them to find out what Keturah did. Okay, so thank you so much, and I will see you all again the next time. In the meantime, know that I love you, but know that Jesus loves you even more. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a blessed Sunday and have a blessed week. Bye-bye now. Okay. Now let me turn this off. Wait, let's see. I'm going to turn off this recording first here. And then I'm going to turn off this one.